On this episode of Gambler Spec, I just picked up this little Honda Recon, and it is a really nice bike, but it has seen some sun. These plastics are baked, really faded, so today I'm going to show you how we can get some of the color back in these plastics, and we're going to make this thing look a whole lot better. Let's get started. So there's a couple different ways you can get the color back in these plastics. Torch is one that I've used before. That seems to work okay. The one that I'm going to use today is actually going to be using this heat gun. And then I'm going to back that up with one of my favorite products, which is this Chemical Guys VRP, vinyl rubber plastic. If you're doing a four-wheeler, I mean, the majority of this thing is vinyl rubber plastic. So something like this comes in handy and works really, really well. I've already tried it here on the back fender, and you can kind of see side to side the difference. This one obviously has had none. The rest of it, I tried a few different things there in the middle, and ultimately came up with a process that I used here on this side of the fender. And you can see it's a pretty stark difference left to right on the color itself. So what we're going to try to do is I'm going to split this thing in half to give you a little bit of a before and after, and we're going to do the heat gun first. Going to get a section heated up, get the color coming back, and then I'm going to come back, wipe on some of this VRP while it's still warm. Now, before we get started, a couple things to note. Number one, if you think to yourself that your plastics right now look pretty bad, couldn't get any worse, you're wrong. It absolutely could get worse. When you're using stuff like this heat, you can melt through it. You can definitely do damage that can never be reversed. So use caution, use discretion on that. Try it in a place that's inconspicuous, place that's not going to matter if it gets ruined before you go further. Most important though, if you're trying to decide if you want to do this or not, is your expectations. If your expectation is that by doing this process, your plastics are going to look brand new, go ahead, like and subscribe, turn this video off, go back to Google, look for something else, and good luck. There's not anything I've ever found that can make this plastic look brand new again, other than buying actual brand new plastics. If your expectation though is, can I make this look just a little bit better? Can I get some of this pink to go back to that red color? This could work for you. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll do a small section for you here live, and then I'll put it on a time lapse, and we'll see what it looks like before and after. All right, so to get started, number one, I've washed the whole thing. Try to get off most of the dirt you can, because obviously that's not going to help you when you're trying to make it look good. This one has some sap. There's different chemicals and stuff you could use, but I'm using heat anyway. And you can actually see this thing had some sap that was on here quite a while ago, and it actually has kept the color from fading in a few different spots. So I'm going to go ahead and just heat up some of this sap first. Just kind of wipe it off with the microfiber. That's good enough. I think best place, let's just start maybe like right in this ridge line, and I'll kind of show you. What I found that works the best is just to kind of keep things moving. At first, we kind of want to get the whole plastic warm versus trying to heat it up to the proper temperature to get the color to change in just one spot. You really risk burning through, and it's also going to be hard to get a consistent texture if you just hold it in one spot for a long time to get it to the right color. Definitely would be possible, but what I think works a little bit better is just to keep moving. Now you can go 4 to 6 inches. If you want to go bigger, 8 to 10 inches, that's fine. This plastic's really cool to start with because I'm out here in the garage, but it'll take just a little bit, get the plastic heated up, and then we'll see what happens as it gets warm enough for the color to start to change here. A lot of the drawbacks from what I can see with using either the torch or the heat gun is that it's hard to get a consistent finish. Depending on the temperature that you get the plastic heated up to, it kind of changes the sheen. And so it's important to try to be as consistent as possible with how long you leave the heat on, as well as how fast you move. To me, it reminds me of either like welding or painting, where you're kind of just watching behind you. You're watching for the flash of the paint, or you're watching for the pool in the weld as you go. So you're kind of just looking at the result, but then still moving in front of it. And you can see it's already starting to change. I definitely wouldn't be in a hurry. If you're going to do this, it really needs to be something that you do, in a longer stretch of time. You want to do it when you have a couple hours in a row, or if you want to just choose a section, you have half an hour you can work on it that day. That's fine, but you don't want to try to get the whole thing done really quick, because I think the best result is going to come from really just taking your time. If you don't get it all the way perfect, if you don't get all the pink out right away, not a big deal, because you could always come back, heat that up again. If you overdo it by being impatient or by rushing it, and now you've got a melted spot, it's going to be really hard to blend that in later. So you can kind of see as I'm going here how the red is coming back. I'm going to go just a little bit longer before I hit it with the chemical. You could do it now, but I think you could go a little bit farther. You just kind of want it to be warm, at least in my opinion, the way I think about it. The warmer that plastic is, the more penetration you're going to get with your VRP. So you just kind of want it to stay warm to get that nice, clean finish from the VRP. So we'll just keep going here. You'll definitely want to do this in a place where you got lots of light. I've got some extra fluorescent lights off camera here, and then I've got the lights in the ceiling as well. Because like I said, with painting and with welding, you're kind of watching that flash behind you as you go, and if it's not a well-lit area, really hard to see when you hit that flash point and it switches over. You don't want to go past it too far. You kind of want to stay in that sweet spot where you've got just the flash of color without melting the plastic so bad that you're causing damage. I see just this little front piece, kind of blend it. All right, so that's getting pretty close. Could go a little further, but like I said, you're better off going light to start and then coming back versus overdoing it. So while that's still warm, let me grab my VRP. I like to use microfibers. Some people aren't a fan of the microfiber cloth, but I like it. All right, this is a brand new bottle. So just get some on your microfiber towel and then just kind of blend it in. And it won't matter if you go over to the next section. I haven't noticed a difference with the heat gun hitting the area that had VRP on it already. So you can double that up, hit it with the heat, and then hit it with the VRP again. But you can see that one section already, you've got red coming back. Let me see if we can get critical. Really, the finish is okay. I mean, these sections that have got scratches in it already, you're going to get some imperfections in your sheen. That's just what to expect. I mean, the thing has some use, but I really just want to get it back to this red color. You can see where the registration sticker was before, how bad that was. So that's going to work pretty well. I'm happy with that. That's my expectation, is to just get some of the red back. I'm going to live with the fact that the sheen is not going to be as nice as it was from the factory, because I think the red color makes it look better than just a more consistent sheen on a faded pink. So I'm going to set this camera up on a time lapse now, and then we're going to do this half of the fender of this front plastic, and then we'll show you the result. All right, here you go. Little side-by-side heat gun and the VRP versus just the VRP, just the cleaning. You can see a definite difference in the color itself. It was much more pink. Now it's got a much more deeper red. Like I said, all the scratches and stuff are still there, and you can see there is a difference in places. I feel like when the temperature gets a little hotter, you lose a little bit of the shine. You can see where that registration sticker used to be here, where it was protected. This part's going to be a lot more scratched, obviously, because this was protected by the sticker. So some of the lack of shine could be just the micro scratches. I also noticed here when I got it a little bit too hot that it lost a little bit of the sheen too. I think the key really is to do a nice big area and not try to rush anything. I feel like the more you spread that heat up, the better your overall quality of shine is going to be. But really, like I said, I was mainly looking for getting rid of that pink and getting back to that red. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. So, a couple of things to note. Number one, as it's been getting warmer in here throughout the day, I've had this heater going and the heat gun. I've noticed this plastic doesn't cool down quite as fast. It's staying at an overall warmer temperature. And what that means is the plastic stays hotter longer. So for instance, there was one part here, like right above the decal, where it was actually still hot, like hot when I got my microfiber on it. And so it left just a little bit of a texture imprint from the rag, where none of that was happening earlier as it was colder here in the garage. So you'll want to be careful of that, especially if you're doing it on a hot day, or in my case with the heater. As you go on, the plastic gets hotter. Give it just a few more seconds, a minute to cool down before you hit it with your microfiber and your VRP. Other observations, the black plastic piece that was here obviously had a lower melting point than the red, because as I was getting closer and closer to the black going around this decal, the black started to melt, like actually melt, where the red wasn't even changing colors yet. So you'll want to be aware of that. Be very observant as you're going around heating things up that you're not inadvertently melting something else. Decals, these decals have seen some age, obviously seen some sun, considering buying new ones. But if you're worried about keeping your decals, you'll want to make sure that you kind of avoid touching them. From what I can see, the heat doesn't seem to bother them that much as long as you don't rub on it. If you're getting rid of the decals, the heat is your friend. Go ahead, heat those up. They'll peel off real easy if you want to do it that way. I guess the last observation was me doing it. I definitely got more fatigued and bored as the day went on, as I was running the heat gun. And so my work got sloppier and sloppier. So I would say if you can, break this project down into 2, 3, 4 days in small increments. That way it kind of keeps your attention and you can really do a better job, I feel like, when you're not trying to get the whole thing done at once. It does get very boring, very tedious, and you're going to have a tendency to want to rush. And when you rush, you get things too hot. That's when you start to have the difference in the shine of the plastic. So that having been said, I'm going to go ahead, call it quits for a little bit, let this plastic cool down. I'm not going to time lapse the rest. I'll go ahead and cut to everything being hit with that heat gun. All right, we've got the red pretty much finished up. Let's take a look. So up to this point, I've been pretty critical of the way this thing looks, just trying to point out as many flaws as I can, just so you could set your expectations. I don't want you going into this thinking that you're going to have a brand new bike when you get done. But now that I've pretty much finished it, take a step back, and this thing looks awesome. This bike is 21 years old, and it had definitely seen its time in the sun. I saved a square here in case you forgot. But to be able to take it from what it was to what it is now, I would say is a huge win. Heat gun, you don't need anything fancy. This, I think I bought at a yard sale for $5 like 15 years ago. Worked just fine. And then a bottle of that VRP. There might be other chemicals out there that would work just the same, but this is one that I like for other stuff. So worked well for me. So I would say if you've got a four-wheeler that's seen some sun, got some oxidation, buy yourself a heat gun, get some VRP, try out a little section. And I think with some practice, you could really make a big difference on the way your four-wheeler looks. So I've got this last square to finish up. If you're going to this much effort to try to make your four-wheeler look better, you're probably wanting to make the rest of it look better as well. So after I get this square done, I'll show you some of the other tricks that I use to get this thing looking brand new. So while I've got the plastics off here, most of the time, a pressure washer or compressed air is going to get you just fine. Really all you're going to need to do, just get some of the dirt and grease and stuff off. But if you either are, going to sell the four-wheeler, or like in my case, I just bought it. So I think it'd be nice to start, with everything really clean. What I like to use is some of this fast orange cleaner for anything that looks greasy. This one really doesn't have a lot of grease. I don't see much in the way of leaks or anything, but you can still go in and touch some stuff up. I just got a bucket of hot water and a microfiber, and you can simply, come in with your microfiber and your hot water. A little bit of fast orange just kind of helps to cut the grease, and you just kind of wipe stuff off, and that will make it look a lot better. If you got spots that, like in here in these fins, if you wanted to really get in there and get a deep cleaning, I'll come back. I just bought a package at Walmart for $1 of these cheap toothbrushes, and they work really good if you're trying to do, a detailed type clean, or if you've got, a lot of grease and you're going to be working on the thing. It might be nice to just get a little bit, more detailed, do a little bit better job, get the grease out of the crevices. A toothbrush with a little bit of fast orange does a great job. You can also do this if you wanted to start the project before you even did the fenders. You can come in, do this whole thing while you're pressure washing. Sometimes I'll, be doing the detail with the fast orange at the same time. That way, whenever you get to this point, you've kind of scrubbed everything down and you want to check it, you can just hit it with your pressure washer, spray it off, see what's still dirty. Otherwise, if you're at this point like I am, just rinse your rag out, wipe it off, and it'll look a whole lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna do the engine, the transmission, a lot of the stuff on the inside. I'm just gonna go over real quick, a once over with this fast orange and a microfiber, and we'll get this looking better. Okay, so now I've wiped down all the engine. Like I said, it really wasn't greasy, just a little dusty. So I just kind of wiped that all off. The next thing that I'm going to work on is this black. Now, even though it's pretty faded, as you can see, I have never really used the heat gun or torch on the black. And mainly that's because this VRP seems to clean it or bring it back to black or black enough that I haven't ever really seen a use for using the heat gun. So again, just going to use this VRP. Now you could use a microfiber, and on stuff like these fender skirts, you could see where the VRP was. It works pretty well just using a microfiber. When you get down in here where you've got like the texture, the problem is these microfibers will just absorb all of your product, and you need quite a bit of product to cover all this. So the way that I do it is actually using like a bristle brush. So depending on what you have around you, it's obviously going to splatter around. But you can find something like this, just a plastic bristle brush, or you go back to your good old faithful toothbrush to get in these grooves. The other thing that's nice is these are not porous, so they're not going to absorb your material. You can go a lot further with the same amount of material if you use something that's non-porous, like a toothbrush, and basically you're just going to go over it, just kind of work it in. Or let's see if we can use this drill instead on a bigger scale. Really quick. I mean, it really doesn't take a long time. Just put you some product on there. So I changed directions, but if it's not super bad, then it probably won't matter. You can just go over it real quick with your toothbrush or your bristle brush. And then once you've kind of worked it in, just come back and wipe it off. If it's still damp, you may have to wipe it again. But yeah, you can see this is like, I mean, basically as good as new. Looks great. Didn't have to do any heat gun, didn't have to do anything, just a little bit of ERP, a little bit of elbow grease. Use your tools to your advantage. Stuff like this in a bigger area, or I have, like if you were doing a big spot, and I'll use this on the tires later, but like a bigger surface area brush. Use that to work the material in. That saves you on material, makes it go a lot further. Also gets into all the crevices. So I'm going to use this and my toothbrush, and I'm going to go over all this black here, and you'll see how much better it looks. Okay, so that's all done. Give you just a little overview here. Looks much, much better. Pretty minimal effort, minimal cost. I really didn't use a whole lot of product, but not too bad. So now that I've got that, I also had the carb out to clean that. So wipe down the air cleaner box with the same product. And then on this side now, we'll come back, hit all the black, and up here as well, we'll go ahead and hit that with the VRP, all these black areas, and call that good on the black. All right, pretty much wrapping this thing up at this point. As far as the plastic goes, we got all the black stuff put back on. These covers on the sides, this one had a melted spot, but yeah, this still doesn't look too bad. Get it all nice and black, looks fine. So overall, everything's looking pretty good. We got battery wiped down, we got the air cleaner box lid back on. Everything's looking pretty good. I think we're ready to put the seat on, and seat's original. And it's pretty good for an original seat that's 20 years old. And I do use the VRP because this is, vinyl or whatever. I'm assuming it's vinyl. The one thing I'll tell you is that it can be pretty extreme. So I would not take the VRP and put it directly on the seat because it's pretty intense. You can definitely get thrown off the back because it's very slippery if you go straight on it. So what I usually do, I just use a rag that I've used for other stuff because you kind of just want just the essence of VRP. You don't really want to go full strength like you did on any of these other things on the plastic because it's just kind of too much. But even with just what I have left on this rag, it cleans it, does a good job. Bring back the black, add a little bit of shine. Not bad. There's definitely looks like some more sap on the seat, but it doesn't look bad, so we'll go with it. I think that's gonna do it. Oh, missed the spot right here. Yeah, I think the bike's coming out pretty well. So we got the seat on now. Now the last thing that we need to take care of is these wheels and tires. They are pretty new, actually, really good tread on them. But as you probably know, Honda is notorious for these wheels just peeling off. All the paint peels off, and that's just back to like the gray primer. So I'm going to show you what I do on these to kind of make them look good in a hurry. So I'll go ahead and pull one of these off. As you pull the wheels off, it's a good time to just hit that inner fender with soap and water. You can hit it with the VRP if you want to make it shiny or clean it all the way up. It's up to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull one of these off and I'll show you what I do to get these cleaned up and looking good. All right, so first thing, we got the wheel off. Take the center cap out. That's not in the way. You can take this crayon, like wax, tire wax, that will come off. I like to use gasoline because I always have it. But there's not a lot of other stuff. You got to get something that is a little stronger to get that wax off. So just a little bit of gasoline will get that off if you're worried about it. Then what we'll do is I've got to get all of this old paint that's on there to come off so that I get decent texture. when I put my new paint on. I don't want to have all this paint underneath it that could, is going to flake off at some point. So you can use compressed air, which I do use. That'll actually take off quite a bit. And then, just a screwdriver, whatever. Once you kind of get the stuff going, get up a piece, it seems to kind of flake the whole thing off. So you'll just want to go around, take a minute, and get all this paint residue off. All right, so I moved outside here for the tire portion. I got most of the old paint scraped off. I'll show you what I do here on the tire. So we're gonna start with the back side. I've got just this Meguiar's wheel and tire cleaner. I used to use a Turtle Wax one. That's pretty similar, but I can't find it the last few times I've looked. So first thing you do on this, you're just gonna rinse it off. You can use your pressure washer if you're set up, but not really necessary. I just want you to rinse the whole thing off first. So just get it wet, leave that running because we'll need that in a minute, and then just give it a healthy dose of the spray foam. You can hit the wheel, hit the tire both. Since this is the back side, we're just going to kind of do a quick once over, get some of this mud off, bring some of that black back. And then I like to hit the rim first. Do the rim first. That just gives the tire a little more time to soak. Like I said, this is the back side, and it's actually not that bad. So we'll just give it a once over. Probably use a microfiber on that too. But then for the tread on the tire, I switched to my bigger wire brush. And obviously, most of the time when you're cleaning tires, you're just doing the sidewall. But I mean, we're here, and this is easy. So just knock it down in between the lugs here. Like I said, this is the back side, so just don't want it to be a stark difference front to back. All right, that's good enough. Flip it over. We're gonna do the same thing on the front here. All right, and then just rinse off. Cool, that's it. Bring this back inside. Got a little more suds on the back here. All right. And then you're supposed to just wipe it off at the end. So I just use microfiber. Wipe off the wheel. Wipe off the sidewall. Just helps to get the rest of that dirt off. The thing I like about this stuff and the Turtle Wax stuff is that it's not like high gloss, which sometimes high gloss is okay on your tires. Definitely have done it in the past, depending on the vehicle. But for the most part, I like it to just look clean, especially for something like this where we're going to go get it filthy immediately as soon as we get it cleaned up and running good. So, I don't necessarily need a high gloss, but this will just kind of make them look like they were when they were new, just black and clean. Yep. All right, so that's pretty much it. I do see a couple little spots of the paint that are still there, so I'm gonna close my garage up and then get the rest of these little paint chips, let it dry, and then show you the next step. So this is real close to being all the way dry. The next thing that you want to do is take your valve stem out. Want to let the air out of the tire. Be sure you set the valve stem in a place where you can remember it later. But now that's going to let us get in around this bead. Probably seen this lots of times before, but you can use a trash bag. I like playing cards because I'm going to be painting these wheels a silver color. I'll probably still need to put a plastic bag or some kind of covering drop cloth over the rest of the tire because you'll definitely get silver overspray. But then what you want to do is once you've let the air out, it's real easy to just take an old set of playing cards. It's a good yard sale item. Like anytime you see playing cards at a yard sale, pick them up for 25 cents for a pack, and they are super helpful for when you're setting up or you need to paint your wheels, on a car, four-wheeler, mini bike, whatever it is. You want to paint your wheels, real easy to mask them off if you have a set of playing cards. So definitely, put that on your list of things to pick up when you see them at a yard sale. Get them as cheap as you can get. Buy the whole lot. Get them for cheaper because you'll definitely use them. You could technically reuse them too, but they gain thickness every time you paint, so it just kind of gets obnoxious. And when you can get them for free or close to free, really isn't a reason to reuse them a million times. But basically this is all you're going to do. Just come around, break that bead free to just give you a little bit of space and get a nice overlap on your cards all the way around. Probably another one. Cool. So that's essentially it. I'll come in and you can put paper towels or, like I said, trash bag, whatever works for you. But you'll want to just mask off the rest of this. And then let's see what I got for paint. I think the only one I have a Ford Silver. It's the only one I have right now. This is a little bit on the lighter end of what I think would look good, but Ford Argent Silver VHT high temp wheel paint. This stuff works really good. It is a little chromy in my opinion for the Recon, but it's what I've got, and I just want to make it look better than that, which shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm gonna just tape off this valve stem, and then we'll give it you probably should wipe this down at least. You could sand it, I guess, if you were really trying to do a long-term fix. You could throw a light sand to make it stick. I'll probably just run over the whole thing with mineral spirits just to make sure there's no oil on it. Let the mineral spirits completely dry. If you don't, you're going to have the paint try to bubble up on you. So I'll hit it with mineral spirits. I'll spray it, or I'll blow it off with the air. Make sure I got all the mineral spirits dried up. Tape off that valve stem, and then we'll get a coat of silver put on this. Well, it's not the worst painting conditions, but definitely not the best. Got some pretty good wind, and it's pretty cold. We'll make it work. I usually just do a super light tack coat first. Oh, this is so glittery. All right, so let that tack up, come back, hit it one and a half more times, and then we'll bring it in. All right, so these babies dried for about 45 seconds, which is plenty for what we're doing here. So I went ahead and put them back on, got the center caps hit with some of the VRP, just get them back to black. But this is why I like that wheel and tire cleaner that's not high shine. I just feel like it's such a good look when you look at compared to the back. It's not overly obnoxious, shiny black, just kind of a nice new tire black. Like I said, the wheels aren't my favorite color, but it's not the paint color I deserved. It's the paint color I had right now. So not too bad. Definitely going to be a big improvement over what it was before, which was pretty hideous. So I've already got the other front off. That's all prepped. I'm going to get that one painted. Then we'll get these back ones taken off. And once I get those done, I think we're done, and we'll do our final reveal and take it for a ride.
So, I don't know if you guys can subscribe, but if you can, do it. Just do it.
Well, it was a ton of work, but I got it done. The results are far from perfect, but I would say easily gambler spec. The red looks so much better. The black looks good. Wheels and tires look good. Overall, this thing looks amazing. Super happy with the way it came out. All that's left is to take it out on its first test drive. So that's going to do it for this episode. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate you watching.